Hi, Rama. It's week 8, day 4 of our Bible narrative reading plan. Today we begin in Exodus chapter 13, verse 17. Pharaoh has agreed to let God's people go, and God is leading his people out of Egypt. And God in his wisdom says, no, I'm not going to take them the shortest way, the way through the land of the Philistines, because the people will become afraid. They will see war, and they'll say, no, let's go back to Egypt. And so he takes them a different path. We also notice there in verse 19 that Moses takes the bones of Joseph with him. And that points us back to what happened at the end of the book of Genesis, that Joseph, by faith, knew that one day God would lead his people out of Egypt, and he made them promise to him that they would not bury him in Egypt, but when God did deliver them out of Egypt, they would take his bones with them. And so God is leading his people out of Egypt, and he's leading them by a pillar of fire by night and a pillar of cloud by day. Chapter 14 brings us to the familiar crossing of the Red Sea, a pivotal scene in the Bible. And so God leads his people toward the Red Sea, and of course the people in fear begin to doubt God, and they cry out to Moses, and they ask him, why did you bring us out here to die in the wilderness? As the armies of Egypt are creeping in on them, they say, there's no way we're going to make it out of here. Moses, why have you done this to us? Again, doubting God, as they're going to do over and over and over. And Moses cries out to God, and God tells Moses, why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to go forward. And he tells Moses to stretch out his staff above his head, and the waters of the Red Sea part. And the text says that it's as if the waters are a wall. They're just completely separated. There's a wall of water on each side of them, and they're able to cross on dry land. People throughout history have tried to explain this away in some non-miraculous way, but the Bible is very clear. This is the work of God, and this is a miracle. After God's people make it through the Red Sea and they cross over on dry ground to the other side, then the armies of Egypt begin chasing them. And as they chase them, God makes them bog down in the mud, and they slow down. And this is during the night. And as day breaks, God tells Moses to again raise his staff, and the waters crash in on the Egyptians. And all of Pharaoh's army, including Pharaoh himself, they die. They perish in the Red Sea. What is the purpose of all of this? It's a ghastly scene when you stop to think about it, but this is God's judgment being played out. This is God's judgment upon a people who had defied God, who had disobeyed God. And this is the judgment that we all deserve apart from the work of God on our behalf. And so God's people have made it through. They're on the other side. They've crossed through the Red Sea. And for just a while, they rejoice. For just a while, they thank God and they trust God. All of this has been done to manifest God's great power, that he is the one true living God of the earth. When we come to chapter 15, we have the song of Moses. Then Moses and the people of Israel sang a song to the Lord. And you see this song here in chapter 15. When we're going through big stretches of narrative like we have in Genesis and Exodus, anytime there's a song introduced, that's a signal that we need to slow down. Well, the narratives have been moving quickly, but we need to pause and reflect on what's happened. That's the purpose of this song, and it's singing praises to the Lord of how he has delivered them. It's a beautiful song. I encourage you to read through it carefully and reflect on what God did for his people there, bringing them out of Egypt, and how this mirrors what he does for us in bringing us out of our sin by saving us. And so for just a moment, we see there in chapter 15 that God's people are trusting him. They're praising him for what he has done. But will this last? We will have to continue in the story to see. Here's a summary of today's reading.
For more information, go to tunemyheart.org.